Okay, so next up, we have Dr. Marion Deepwell. Marion is the Chief Exec for the Association of Learning Technology, and she's going to talk to you today about key insights from ALT's annual survey for teaching online. So over to you, Marion.
Hi there. Hello, everybody. Great to be here. I hope you can hear me and see the screen okay?
Yes, we can, yeah.
Great. Well, I'm going to take a little bit of a helicopter view at looking at insights from learning online from our annual survey here at the Association for Learning Technology. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of the ideas with you about what the kind of perspective, particularly from the UK, has been at the end of the year. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat, and then all the data from the survey is available openly to you. So there's links in the presentation. So if you want to have a look and delve a little bit further into the findings, then please do. So first of all, one of the key summaries from our survey has really been to look at the impact of the pandemic, particularly on learning technology and learning technologists and everybody at the forefront of using technology for learning and teaching and assessment. And I was really heartened to see that many of our members felt that learning technology was more positively perceived at the end of after such a year. And there's also a lot of infrastructure and technology investment, and there's also been a lot of recruitment for individuals with expertise in learning technology. So hopefully we'll see that and get more resources into all these wonderful initiatives, some of which we've heard about earlier today. But one of the real key issues that's come out of the survey, and I think that's not a surprise, is that 90% of members really reported that it impacted on their well-being. And I'm keen to hear a little bit about your thoughts on how current working practices and working cultures are impacting on your well-being as well. So if you have any tips to share or any issues to raise, please put those in the chat. And I think importantly, looking at more of the picture within institutions of scaling up use of technology, there was a huge volume of policies being revised and new policies being written. And that's where some of the more tricky, I think, issues have come around protecting student privacy and finding ethical approaches to, for example, online assessment. But what does it mean to be a learning technologist in these sorts of times? And one of the things we're seeing very much coming out across the UK in particular is that more and more senior roles now include a learning technology or a digital component. In least there were seniors now moving up into the top 5 terms describing job titles in the sector. And that is one of the things that I think are really important to see, that it's very much more becoming a strategic challenge as well as a practice and research one. But what I want to focus on today and share with you a little bit are the trends in learning technology. And you don't think anyone will be surprised to know what some of the most popular educational technology tools have been over the last year, with Microsoft Teams, which we're currently in, leading the list there, but also Padlet, Zoom and Moodle and many others. And that's one of the things I want to delve in with you a bit today. Learner engagement continues to be the #1 driver for using learning technology. Collaborative tools, some of the examples that we've heard just now, are ranked most important by 81% of our members. So what are our priorities for this year, and what are the trends in professional practice? Now, I hope that you can see that on your screen, and you can also have a look at alt.ac.uk/annual survey. I'll put the link in the chat, or I see someone's already done that. Thank you. So you can explore that data in more length, but you can see how different tools have different enablers and drivers for learning technology has changed. So it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on that as well. Phil, I can just see that there is someone who can't see the slides. Can I just double check that I'm sharing them okay?
Yes, you are. Yes. Yep.
Okay, brilliant. So that is one of the things that I wanted to focus on, the sort of enablers and drivers. And college knowledge and expertise is one of the key drivers for enabling use of learning technology. This is a really lot of data in this graph, but I think one of the things we wanted to look at how these different enablers and drivers have grown in importance or decreased in importance over the past year. And again, engagement from learners and students is still the top one, but also really important, dedicated time. That's the fourth one, which has grown the most. And I'm sure that everybody here in the room will empathize with the need for more time, as we've all been finding that there is a lot more to do than ever before. And I think as these things change, one of the things we wanted to analyze in the survey is how do the changes that we've made over the past year in response to a crisis shape the long-term future of what professional practice looks like and what digital education might look like. And this is where I want to just have a look with you at the trends in tools and technology and see how that is one of the things that maybe resonates with you. So feel free to play along in the chat or also share that maybe later, but it would be useful to find out what is your favorite digital tool or app that you use professionally in your role. So I'd love to find out if you agree with the ones that I put in there, but there's certainly a very long list if you have a look at the data and see the complete list. I'm glad to see a couple of collaborative ones in there as well, and I can see many people in the chat. Excellent, thank you for joining in, and fantastic to see so many people joining in and sharing their views. What's important, I think, about having these types of data sets, and we've been collecting this data for over 5 years now, is that we can compare year on year, so that this year, 2021, if we do the annual survey later this year, we'll then be able to compare that to how things changed during 2020. And unsurprisingly, collaborative tools, including Teams and Google Workspace, Padlet, and others, are at the very top of those tools that are really most important to practice and for institutions, closely followed by content management systems and VLEs. If you've been playing along with the June EdTech Challenge, which I've been really enjoying, then you'll know whose everybody's VLE in their lives are. But also web conferencing software, and importantly, blended learning is one of the things that is obviously continuing to gain in importance, even as some of us are making the return to campus. So this is having a look at the changes for the last 5 years. So this is comparing data and tracking data from 2014 to 2020. And you can see collaborative tools have continued to be at the very top here. And that is one of the consistencies. But others have moved up and down in importance, and it's interesting to see, I think, how people's perceptions change about what's most important and what isn't most important as we go and look at the comparative data. So one of the things you might spot here is that, for example, MOOCs are now quite down the list. I don't think that necessarily means they are much less important, but that we perceive them to be much more part of the wallpaper of educational technology, something that many institutions have started to adopt. And often you find things that are the newest rising and gaining more attention, even if established practices are still just as much part. So again, we don't have a huge amount of time in 10 minutes. I just wanted to give you a whistle-stop tour, but I do want to encourage you to delve down into this data set and have a look and see how this compares to your experience in your institution. Now, before I finish and hopefully have some time for questions, I wanted to share some predictions from the survey for 2021. Not usually a huge one for predictions, but I hope that these will at least be interesting for us to look at now, given that it's already June. So how important, and you get extra brownie pounds if you can still see this very well on your screen, but I'll read you out the key points. So how important do you expect the following to be for the coming year? And 85% and more of respondents chose collaborative tools as the most important thing. So it is definitely not going to be less important this year. But blended learning, again, blended solutions have really risen up the ranks. And you can also see electronic assessments in there, as well as media production like podcasting and video interviews. While a few other approaches and tools have been deemed a bit less important to respondents. So I should be really interested to see how that compares to your own views and experience. And last but not, this one is the difference of importance for current to future areas. And you can see that, for example, data and data analytics, including learning analytics, have really increased, as has media production. And I think it's an interesting thing to reflect on for us in where we put the emphasis. We heard a lot this morning already about the importance of students and student well-being and student engagement. So I'm interested to see how you feel the survey results reflect that importance as well. And just to say, before I finish and go to questions about the survey, so you can have a look at all the data yourself, and I invite you to go and explore more. Thank you very much for listening, and Phil, back over to you for some questions.
Wow, thank you. That was a great talk. Thank you. I can see by the applause that's coming in that everyone else thought that as well. The chat kind of went a bit crazy during your talk, so I've not been able to keep hold of the questions, if I'm honest. But if anyone wanted to ask Marion a question, we have one already. I will allow you to unmute yourself. So we have Rabia. If you just bear with me, okay, you should be able to ask your question. Are you there, Rabia?
Thank you very much. This is lovely and very interesting outcomes. And I'm just wondering that if you could elaborate on, the tools that you have mentioned. Are they subject specific, or is it kind of a data that has been collected overall from the University of Kent?
So that's a great question. Thank you. So the survey itself is collected by the Association for Learning Technology from its members all across the UK. So it represents institutions from different sectors, including schools and further education, but primarily universities, and also some international respondents. So the information that we collect is from learning technology professionals specifically, and usually looks at the picture across an institution rather than in a specific subject area. But yeah, you can drill down into the data depending of whether you want to look at respondents just by one sector, so for example, just by universities. But I would say that it is mostly universities here in the UK.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have another question. I think Edward Bolton would like to ask a question. Edward, you should be able to unmute your mic now.
Thanks. I put the question in the chat. I'm not sure if you collected this data, but I want to know how institutions are dealing with data security and GDPR when using collaborative tools when they're not formally purchased by institutions, such as Padlet, which came up quite large on your survey.
Oh, thank you. That's a really good question. So, and we do actually have a number of special interest groups that work really in those areas specifically. I think what we've seen from the survey data is that institutions have been having to update and rewrite policies very strongly, and also look at their data processing agreement with external providers. I also think there is a real highlight here about educating staff who might be using tools, using maybe personal accounts or non-institutional bought tools, where they may need to have a real need there for educating. But our special interest group on copyright and online learning, which also looks at licensing as well as GDPR, I think would be a great source of information on that. And following the presentation, I'll pop some links into the chat for us to follow up.
Thank you very much. That's very useful.
Thank you, and you are bang on time, Marion, so you get a gold star on that one.